we don't really think about the impact of stress because, like you say, it requires us to change lifestyle. It
Mm.
requires us to revisit traumatic experiences. But it's that stress that puts us in that sympathetic nervous state where we are now impacting digestion, we're impacting the hormones. And again, we excuse it and we don't realize that we are being bombarded by all of these triggers of stresses all day long.
Depresses the function of thyroid. One
Okay.
of the main things that depresses function of thyroid is stress and cortisol. Elevated cortisol will inhibit the production of hormones, will slow the thyroid down. So apart from all the other impacts on us that stress can have, it impacts the thyroid and it will contribute to fatigue and underactive thyroid and can be a factor in Hashimoto's as well. So it's a massive thing to address.
So essentially, the starches or more the complex carbohydrates
Mhm.
have that higher probability of fermentation in the gut just because of
Mhm.
the breakdown with the enzymes. However, if we have fructose, so from fruit, so more simple sugars, then we don't have that process of fermentation and our body's able to absorb that sugar easier without creating all those side effects of the bloating and the
Yeah,
gases and all that.
because when you have simple sugars, you don't have to digest them. You don't have
Mhm.
to break them down because starches are very complex. You need to break them down. Then you have disaccharides, which is the sugar, two molecules. You have to break them down. And when you have one molecule of sugar, then you can absorb it. So all this process, it requires different enzymes. So if your gut is not able to do that, the starches, the sugars, the not will stay in your gut and they will be fermented.
Mm.
So what we do with the diet, we exclude that and we just allow simple sugars that are digested. They don't need to be digested, they just get absorbed straight away into the bloodstream.
Okay. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. Welcome back, friends. I'm your host, Sherry Shaban, and with each episode, I am honored to be your coach and guide in the journey to make peace with food, fall in love with fitness, and ultimately yourself. My intention in each episode is to help you release the old story of who you are and step into the one you're always meant to be. We'll challenge conventional diet and fitness culture and understand the importance of tuning out all the shoulds they tell us to do and tuning into our own inner wisdom instead. What you focus on, you create more of. Through these conversations, you'll shift your focus from what you're supposed to be doing to who you want to be, so that health and fitness and ease around food is not just what you do, but who you are. And if you find that this conversation resonates with you today, then I want to invite you to join our free Make Peace with Food Facebook community at myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com, where you can connect with me and my team directly and access all the free trainings and resources we have for you so you can regulate your nervous system and make peace with food. And then also remember to share this episode with someone who you think needs to hear this today. The links are in the show notes. All right, now let's get into it. Hi, Anna. Thanks so much for coming on to the show. I'm so excited you're here, and I'm really excited to get into today's topic. So, you're a registered nutritional therapist. You help people with autoimmune diseases, thyroid conditions, and chronic health issues to get to the root of the issues and help them regain quality of life. And I understand you also have quite a story yourself of getting through an autoimmune condition.
That's right. That's right. And that's how I got interested in nutrition to start with.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your history. What is your story?
So about 15 years ago, I experienced a lot of symptoms of fatigue and digestive issues, and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto back then, 2007. I was told I should take a hormone replacement till the end of my life, and there was nothing that I could do about that. And back then, I wasn't very open. My mind wasn't very open to alternative medicine or well-being or anything like that. I was just out of university and I just continued with my life with eating the standard diet that I was on back then, a lot of grains, a lot of wheat, a lot of dairy, a lot of starches, potatoes, things like that. And 5 years down the line, 2012, I live in England. I spent 2 years going to the doctors because my symptoms got worse. And they ran a lot of tests and they said, more or less, there's nothing wrong with you with the tests. Okay, there's nothing we can do about it. And around that time, I was recommended to go and see a naturopath, and I didn't want to stop it. how I was feeling. I knew there was something else. I knew there was something wrong going on with me, and just doctor didn't have that knowledge to help me. So I went to see a naturopath, and she opened my eyes to the world of nutrition, functional testing, so stool testing, food intolerances,
Mm.
and she helped me quite a bit. And after 2 years, my symptoms improved, but not fully. So I came across a diet that I suppose was a turning point for me. It was a SCD diet,
Mhm.
specific carbohydrate diet. And I still got I still was getting a lot of bloating back then. So I started the diet, and within 7 days, my bloating was gone. I had flat belly, and I was amazed. I couldn't believe that diet and what we eat has impact on us. And that kind of prompted me to dig a little bit more and deeper into the subject. And around that time, my nephew was diagnosed autistic, and the diet would be helpful for children with autism as well. So I kind of started to read about it and decided nutrition is what I want to do. And
Right.
within 2 months, I went to college. To an open evening. I signed up, and I studied nutrition, and that's what that's where I am now.
Amazing. So just to rewind a moment in your story, so you're diagnosed with Hashimoto's
Mhm.
and you have certain symptoms that lead up to this. So to the listener who is not
Yeah.
familiar with Hashimoto and what the symptoms are, could you share that with us?
So Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition of thyroid gland. Yeah, and thyroid is responsible for regulating metabolism and energy production in the body. So personally, I had symptoms of fatigue. I was getting up unrefreshed, and I had very dry skin. The hair was falling out, and the other symptoms would be thinning eyebrows, PMS or miscarriages, problem with fertility, um, which I also had in terms of PMS. So essentially, your body kind of slows down. The brain fog is another one, and of course, putting on weight,
Mhm.
which a lot of people, a lot of women and people with Hashimoto and underactive thyroid get.
Mhm. So how long was this going on for before it was kind of a red flag to go see a doctor?
I think since my late teenage years. So I was quite active as a child and teenager. Teenager, I used to play basketball and volleyball, and I used to go to the gym and used to do taekwondo. So I was quite active, but I was kind of, I was tired, but I was thinking because I was doing a lot and studying and stress from school and all of that. And I had very low iron, which is also very common, and low ferritin in thyroid conditions. And I suppose because my mom was diagnosed with Hashimoto as well, the doctors checked me for that. I think I was 24 when they decided to check for that, and that's when I was diagnosed. But I suppose that I had a few years before then, periods of symptoms.
Wow. Wow. So that's interesting because I like how you kind of share that. A lot of us kind of, dismiss the feeling tired or it's okay if I didn't get enough sleep. I'm doing a lot, and especially moms that have kids and have busy lives. So it's interesting to note that this continued fatigue is not something that we need to live with necessarily, especially if it accompanies other symptoms like hair loss and issues
Mm.
with digestion and all of these things.
But one thing that I didn't understand up till recently, or I discovered I had problems with stress.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been, my life has been quite stressful as a teenager, and then early 20s, and I didn't realize how important stress is for health and well-being. And it sounds strange, but it's something I suppose at the back, I knew wasn't good for me, but I wasn't ready to address it because it meant kind of revisiting childhood and trauma that I had as well. So that was something that I kind of started to address at the end of my journey. But I think that that's the most important, the first thing that should be addressed actually in Hashimoto autoimmune condition, in any health condition actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And we don't really think about the impact of stress because like you say, it requires us to change lifestyle. It
Mm.
requires us to revisit traumatic experiences. but it's that stress that puts us in that sympathetic nervous state where we are now impacting digestion, we're impacting the hormones. And again, we excuse it and we don't realize that we are being bombarded by all of these triggers of stresses all day long, coming from TV, even just these last couple of years of pandemic. People we surround ourselves with, or putting so much pressure on ourselves to perform at such a level that's almost unrealistic. And this is something that we live every single day thinking it's a normal part of our lives, right?
Right. And guess what depresses the function of thyroid? One of the main things that depresses function of thyroid is stress and cortisol. Elevated cortisol will inhibit the production of hormones, will slow the thyroid down. So apart from all the other impacts on us that stress can have, it impacts the thyroid and it will contribute to fatigue and underactive thyroid and can be a factor in Hashimoto's as well. So it's a massive thing to address. And I will urge anyone, you know, it's very important. And if you don't know what to do, again, I urge you to go and find a therapist who can help you. And I will be honest with you, that's what I did. I did last year, pandemic stress, family stress, everything was getting too much. And I knew there was something else that I needed to do that to turn the corner of my health because I had improved massively with dietary changes, with sleep adjustments, and I had massive gains, but I felt that it's still, I wasn't there yet. So I had to face my stress and my childhood experiences and things like that, and I've been doing that for a few months, and I've noticed the difference, and I put some strategies in place, and I think it's a very important thing to address, definitely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I like how you say that because you're a nutritionist, you're a therapist, you help people, and yet you're still constantly seeking help for yourself. And I'm the same way. I get advice from other
Mm.
coaches. I'm constantly on this path of growth and learning and experience. And I love to be sitting in that seat of a student where I'm constantly just open to new ideas. And I never want to get into that mindset where I think, oh, I know everything, or I've been doing this for 20 years, so I should already know everything because there's constantly new information that comes up and there's tons for us to continue to learn.
Yes, and also just because we therapists and we have knowledge within certain area, as you said, we don't know everything, but we also have issues with our mindset blocks, limiting beliefs. I have this. I have to tackle them as well, and that's the therapist is helping me with that. But I also, because of the fatigue and everything that autoimmunity brings, uh, and it causes me to recover slowly from exercise, and I was kind of keeping myself away from exercising for quite some time again, and I understand as a practitioner how important exercise is. So I am active, but I haven't been exercising until recently, and you will be hopefully happy to know that literally 3 weeks ago I started boot camp. I just
Ooh.
went with my husband twice a week, and I had a session last night, and I'm just I'm so because we do burpees, we do kettlebells, we do all of it, and I am like at the first session I was in pain, my hamstring were being painful 3 days, I couldn't walk.
Mm.
But I'm getting stronger, I'm getting better at it. And it still takes me a while to recover, but I'm mindful of protein, of electrolytes, of rest, heat and cold, and all of this. And I'm just feeling now that I'm getting the hang of it. So I have nutrition in place. I have my sleep is fine. I'm trying to manage my stress and address the trauma. And I'm starting to do exercise as well. So these are the four things that everyone needs to address, and especially person with autoimmune condition.
I love that. Yeah, so powerful. And that's music to my ears. All those exercises that you just shared with me, that's my jam. So that's so cool.
I
So
was
so
like,
we're gonna rewind a moment. And you said around 2007 you were diagnosed, and then I guess it took you a couple of years until you found was it a functional nutritionist that helped you to shift into switching the food and starting to do the food sensitivity tests?
no, it was a naturopath, which is a
Okay.
naturopathic type of doctor.
Right.
And that actually took me or 5 years to get to that point from the diagnosis to speaking to someone who kind of was open to all the alternative um, medicine out there, and it's when you start seeing all these things that are available to you, it's unbelievable, it's amazing, because there are different therapists out there, different people doing amazing things, getting results by doing different things, but yet achieving the same results, and that's what I love, I think, about alternative medicine, and what I do, that nutrition is part of that, and I can I can recommend supplements, but other people do the same things with herbs or Chinese herbs, homeopathic medicine. If that's controversial, but some people believe in that. Healing energy, there's so many things that I've discovered to do recently in the last year. It's unbelievable, and I've been trying and testing certain things myself as well. But so I think it's a I think it's important to be open-minded as a practitioner and as a person, and go and experiment with these things, and have your basics in place, like nutrition, exercise, your sleep, and stress, because you cannot over supplement or out supplement that diet and lack of sleep and lack of exercise. You have these, you have to get these things in place. But I think it's important to um, do other things. Look at, like energy, maybe whether you need some kind of healing energy or some help with that, or whether there is something else you need. And yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, just kind of went there on that.
No, it's true. No, you're absolutely correct, because we're not just the physical body, right? We are the energetic body. We are
Mm,
the karmas that we carry. We are the interactions and experiences that we've had in the past. All of these things make ourselves up, right? And you notice that even when you're trying to recover from back pain or from neck pain that's constantly chronic, you realize it's not just the physical body anymore. It's the stress that you've been carrying for so many years, right?
mm,
It's the limiting beliefs. It's the way we're holding our body in that sympathetic state at all times that is creating and manifesting that pain in the body. So 100%. And I actually believe that you have to be open to the outcome of that type of therapy in order
yes.
for it to work. If you are skeptical, if you're feeling like, what, I'm gonna eat and change my body, or I'm gonna eat and change my inflammation and all this stuff, and I'm gonna change how I eat, and that's supposed to impact me, then I think that's where we need to maybe do some more work and just, like you said, be open minded to whatever the outcome will be.
Yeah, yeah. And it's amazing that I was 10 years ago, I was like that. I had no idea what I eat
Mm,
have has impact on me. And when I think about it now, of course it does, because I am made of all the things I eat.
yes.
Literally everything in my body will be made from the meat, from the protein, from carbs, from fats, no, everything. So why wouldn't it? And it just, it's yeah, it's unbelievable that I didn't have that. But I suppose it helps me understand my clients, because a lot of my clients will have that conception that, or they would be surprised that, or by excluding certain things, or maybe gluten, maybe nightshade, maybe different food groups, or things like that, they will have, less pain, or the bloating will go away, or the brain fog will lift, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And we have to think about this logically, right? If I eat fast food as or processed food as the majority of what I eat, well, that's what my body is going to use to build me. And there's no
Mm,
way that that man-made food or those chemicals are going to be able to replace what naturally comes from our environment, foods that we are more meant to eat, right? So you mentioned earlier that you went on an SCD diet, right? That's a selective carbohydrate diet. Can you share a little bit more on that?
yeah, so it's a specific carbohydrate diet, and it's literally about excluding the starches from the diet. So there is no grains, there's no pasta, there's no rice, no potatoes, um, there is only 24-hour fermented yogurt in terms of dairy, and you can eat all the vegetables, certain amount of fruit, all the protein, and eggs and nuts and seeds and things like that. But you exclude all the starches from your diet. And the reason behind it is, when your gut is not working properly, when it's inflamed and it's upset, you may lose the ability to digest the food, because we have in our lining we have enzymes. So we have enzymes that are you have the stomach acid that digests the food, and you have your enzymes from your pancreas and all of that, but also the lining of the gut has end stage enzymes that break the food down. So it breaks the sugars into glucose and fructose, for example. Yeah, so into the simple sugars. But when your gut is inflamed, it loses that ability to do so. And when we cannot digest sugars into simple forms of sugar, we cannot absorb them because we can only absorb glucose and fructose. So that will linger in your gut and will be fermented by the bacteria and will cause bloating, diarrhea, or constipation, depending what type of gas is produced. So by excluding the starches, you will never be in a situation when they're not digested. And when you only have simple sugars like fructose and glucose, it will get straight away absorbed through the lining of the gut. So there will be nothing to ferment.
Mm.
So you give your gut the chance to heal. And it might take months, sometimes in severe cases can take 1 or 2 years. But after that time, you can introduce starches back in and see how you react. It's a form of an elimination diet, essentially,
Right.
which are different diets out there like that. But it can be very powerful for IBD, Crohn's or colitis, diarrhea, bloating, constipation type of situation as well.
Wow, so fascinating. Okay, so just so that I understood this correctly. So essentially, the starches or more the complex carbohydrates
Mhm,
have that higher probability of fermentation in the gut just because of
mhm.
the breakdown with the enzymes. However, if we have fructose, so from fruit, so more simple sugars, then we don't have that process of fermentation and our body's able to absorb that sugar easier without creating all those side effects of the bloating and the
Yeah.
gases and all that.
Because when you have simple sugars, you don't have to digest them. You don't have
Mhm.
to break them down because starches are very complex. You need to break them down. Then you have disaccharides, which is the sugar, two molecules. You have to break them down. And when you have one molecule of sugar, then you can absorb it. So all this process, um, it requires different enzymes. So if your gut is not able to do that, the starches, the sugars, the not will stay in your gut and they will be fermented.
Mm.
So what we do with the diet, we exclude that and we just allow simple sugars that are digested. They don't need to be digested, they just get absorbed straight away into the bloodstream.
Okay. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. So you're going through a process where essentially you're wanting to eliminate that inflammation and then slowly
Yes,
reintroduce these starches again. I'm assuming you'll introduce one at a time.
yes. Yeah, so it's like an elimination diet. You eliminate certain foods that can be causing issue. Sometimes, as I said, if sometimes it can be a month. Usually it's a month. But if it's a severe issue like autoimmune condition, or if you had that issue for years, then the damage to the gut is probably more severe. So
Right.
you need to do it for 3 months, maybe 6 months, and observe. And then you introduce the food one at a time and see how you feel, how your symptoms are. If nothing happens, you try again and try again, and you find perfect, then you introduce another food.
Mhm.
And if you can reintroduce them back, that means your gut is healed and you're fine.
Right. Right. But I imagine quantity also plays a factor, right? So
Yes.
the amount of those complex carbohydrates that we have in a meal, I'm sure would also create an effect. So what would that quantity be? Is that individual or is there a particular guideline that is suggested?
I mean, it's I think it's individual, but when we think about diets in a general sense, we shouldn't be overeating carbs anyway or
Right.
starches. So I don't know. I'm not sure how you recommend what you recommend to your clients in terms of dinner plate, but I usually recommend not to go more than quarter of a plate of carbs
Mhm.
for just a standard diet, without knowing any goals of that person. Because if they want to lose weight, then maybe we need to change
Right.
that. But generally, I recommend half a plate of vegetables, quarter of starches, and quarter of protein and healthy fats.
Mhm.
So if someone, but of course, if someone cannot tolerate that for different reasons, then they have to adjust and change it.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds right. And like you said, it really depends on the person's goals. If they're trying to lean
Mm.
out, if they're trying to put on weight, if they're trying to train for an endurance event, it certainly does change. But I like how you say that and it just kind of simplifies food and just kind of gives us a better perspective as to how we are very individual and how there isn't really a one diet that fits all, right? Especially when we start to reintroduce foods, that's when we start to realize, well, maybe I react to certain things, right? Or maybe I react to certain
Yeah.
quantity of things compared to maybe someone else in my household.
Yeah, yeah, and there are so many diets out there essentially, and even for nutritionists, it sometimes can be overwhelming. But I've tried so many different diets. I've tried SCD diet. I tried AIP, which is autoimmune protocol diet, and I've helped people with keto diet as well. And that's something I haven't tried, but I'd love to. Um, Wall's diet, which is essentially
Oh yeah.
a paleo autoimmune type of diet for multiple sclerosis. I'm reading the book at the moment, and I love her approach because Dr. Walls, she recommends so many vegetables, like 9 cups a day
Mhm.
of colorful and sulfur rich and things like that. And it's just um, there are so many things out there. And then you have low FODMAP diet that can be suitable for some. Of course, paleo, which is amazing approach for generally. And I think then you have lectins and histamine and nitrates and then all of these
Right.
things and gluten free and dairy free and all of these. And I think it's about sitting down with the person, seeing what symptoms they have, what conditions they have, what they want to achieve, and what they able to do.
Mm.
Because if I go and because I have a couple of clients at the moment with MS and autoimmune condition, and um, we're trying to implement Wall's diet, and it's not that
Yes.
easy for people to introduce so many vegetables in a day. So I always talk to my clients and I ask them, okay, what realistically you would be able to do.
Mhm.
And so I talk to them about their day, what they do in the day, and the work they do, how much time they have, when they have kids. I need to know all of these things to help them plan and manage dietary changes because I cannot give them change the diet 100% because they will
Right.
be overwhelmed. They will not do it. So I am honest and I speak to them. What do you think you are able to do? Are you able to exclude these foods, or should we just try with one and see how we go? So yeah, so many things out there, and try. Sometimes I always say it's being like a detective, trying to figure it out. What's the best approach for this person? But looking by the symptoms, looking at the diet, what they eat, and their day and activity during the day, and all of that. So but
Right.
I love it. I love it. It's there's so much to learn and try and do, and it's just
Yeah.
amazing, exciting.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love everything you said, Anna, and I do agree with you. Keto has its place, right? And the Walls protocol has its place. By the way, I did have Dr. Terry Walls on the show last year. Yeah, she's amazing.
Oh
Yeah,
my!
what a
She's like
story.
a hero of me.
Yeah,
She
she
is.
really is. What a story she has. And athletes, if you're listening, I suggest you go
Mm,
back and you check out that episode because it's very, very powerful. And the background is that Dr. Terry Walls was suffering from multiple sclerosis for many, many years, confined to a tilt reclined wheelchair. And after she started switching her food, she was actually able to get up off that wheelchair and ride a bike. It was beautiful, beautiful,
mm,
powerful story. But again, just to prove that power of food, just how much food does impact us. And Anna, I did this test called Viome. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So it's a sensitivity test, Viome, Viome, and they send you a kit. I sent my blood and stool sample, and then they give you back. My God, it's a 96-page report. It's got everything around your health, your cellular health, your metabolic health, your level of inflammation, very, very detailed. And then it also gives you a list of all the different bacterial strains that are found in the intestine and in your gut. It gives you what your superfoods are. So I have this app. It's a list of what my superfoods are. I have a list of the foods that I have to absolutely avoid. I've got a list of the foods I should minimize, and then foods that I can eat freely. And what was really nuts about this was I'm very focused on eating more plants. Like that's sort of my thing. That's my suggestion, and I encourage athletes as much as possible to switch to whole foods. But what was crazy was when I got my list back, the majority of the food that I was eating every single day was what was causing my inflammation. So things like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, which was really on my menu almost every day. And since I've removed these foods, I've seen such a massive shift. I mean, the digestion has changed, that's for sure. My energy has changed, my sleep has improved, but more importantly, the brain fog. that's the greatest gift I feel since I've done this process. And there actually is a discount code, athletes, if you are listening, capital Heal My Gut. If you go to Viome.com and you want to check out that test that I did, it's called the Health Intelligence Test, and you can use the code Heal My Gut to check it out. You get $10 off, I think, something like that. Yeah.
That
So
sounds
what do you think of
amazing.
that, Anna?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I haven't heard from I haven't heard of this test. I think not everything is available in the UK. So I'm here. We have quite a lot of things from America and Canada, but not everything. Possibly we may have. But I'm quite up to date with what we have available here, and I don't think we have this test available. That sounds amazing
Yeah.
because it's a little bit like, it's food intolerances, isn't it? Eating and essentially eating. If you eat the same foods every day, you may react to them no matter how healthy the food is.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, and that's why it's very important to alternate what we eat, and eat a rainbow, all of that, but don't eat the same rainbow every day.
Mhm.
uh, and I appreciate it's not that easy because you need to plan ahead and see what you have, and sometimes even availability of vegetables, because I know in America, maybe even in Canada, you have access to many more types of vegetables and fruit than we have here in the UK.
Right.
Because I often I follow a lot of doctors and researchers from across the Atlantic, and so I see the posts and I see what they talk about, and all these lovely, sometimes lovely foods and tests and uh, products available, and we don't have it here. And I always feel like, oh, it's just like, oh, it's a shame. And I have to tell you, we don't, unless you're in London. And in London, you can go to different markets because you have a lot of nationality. So you have access to many different foods. If you're somewhere else, it's not that easy to get a massive variety of vegetables in supermarkets or even in the markets. It's mainly kind of seasonal and the standard
Right.
things available every time of the year as well. But that sounds like a really great test, and the results you got, and yeah, it's like a top level personalized nutrition.
Yeah, it is. And I find in one way it's a little bit abnormal that we have this access to all kinds of food all year long, because like you mentioned, we really should kind of eat more seasonal, I suppose, which would be a little bit more natural to us. But yes, when it does come down to food sensitivities, that you do have more varieties, so then you have more choices. But
Mm.
I think what I love the most about this test, and I think there's probably other tests out there. I think this is becoming the thing now, and I think I've seen other companies as well do things like this. But what I loved the most was I had my own personal list of superfoods, right? And that's like a word now that's used everywhere. You get superfood. Kale is a
Mm.
superfood, and these nuts and seeds are superfoods. And the truth is, kale is not a superfood for me personally. In fact, it's something I should minimize.
So
But it's
what are the
interesting.
superfoods for you then? What are the superfoods for you?
So things like lamb, I couldn't believe that. Lamb, salmon, and I don't, and I bought lamb for the first time, and I had done maybe in 2019, I'd done a year of about 100% plant-based. So to reintroduce animals back into my diet was a little bit awkward, but I chose health first before, it's just
Mhm.
without having to overconsume, without overindulging, and without being such a pest to the environment and to society. I choose my health. I was suffering
Mm.
from bloating for so many years. I was suffering from inflammation, and I'd wake up swollen and bags under my eyes, foggy brain. And there were moments where I would have conversations with people and literally forget what I was saying. Like I just couldn't even continue my conversation. I would blank out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in my 40s. And this is what it must feel like to start to lose your memory and to be able to speak. And it was all really related to my food. And I was eating plant-based food. I was eating all those foods. So things that came up, salmon also was a superfood for me. I can't have shrimp. I can't have scallops. Tons of different types of fruits were superfoods, like raspberries, oranges, grapefruit, turmeric. So some different things. But again, it's something I would never ever have guessed on my own. No matter what elimination diet I
Mm.
would have gone on, I could not have gotten this information.
Yeah, that sounds great. But I think it's interesting what you said about putting your health first, because
Yeah.
that's my approach as well.
Mm.
And I appreciate that people may want to go on 100% vegan or plant vegan diets because of environment and personal beliefs. Uh, but I think what people are not aware of is that there is a form of agriculture. I don't know if you heard of it, regenerative agriculture. That is actually good for the environment. It sequesters the CO2, and animals are just roam freely, and they're not treated badly, and the meat is good quality, and they eat grass, and so the nutrients in the meat are amazing, and yes, it is more expensive, but at the same time, as you say, you don't have to eat a lot of it. You have a lot of vegetables, plant-based foods, and you just supplement it with good quality meat from this type of farm. And I know in America, possibly in Canada, and we have some in Europe as well, in UK, but in America they mass it. You can find a lot of these farms.
Mhm.
So yes, that's very interesting. But I think the same way. I'm thinking I put my health first, but I don't want to contribute to damage of the environment. So I am conscious about that, and I choose meat from farms that they're not this kind of factory type of farms. And yeah, then I contribute in another way, making sure my environment is free of toxins, of plastics. I use, because that's another important factor when you want to manage your health, autoimmunity, and thyroid, is to reduce the toxins in your environment, um, in your kind of close environment. Of course, you cannot necessarily impact what's going on outside of your house, but um, I think it's so important because thyroid is very sensitive to toxins. So, for example, I've changed my cosmetics. I don't use makeup. That's the first of all. I don't use makeup. I don't dye my hair. I'm in my late 30s. I've been going grey for about 7 years, and I decided, you know what, that's okay because I've done my DNA testing. I know I have some liver deletion gene. My deletion is in my genes in my liver, so my detoxification is compromised. I don't want to put something on my head that can contribute to cancer. So I thought, you know what, that's fine with me. All natural products, just face cream, shampoos, all natural cleaning products, minimal. I use a lot of vinegar, baking soda.
Yeah.
In my house. I don't use it in plastic bottles. I have stainless steel or glass. I have a lot of jars that I use to store food. I installed filter in my water to make sure my water is good. Um, I'm starting actually removing changing my cookware. So I have stainless steel pots, and now I got myself a cast iron frying pan or skillet, I think how you call them.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, there is a lot of things you can do as well. So I don't use aluminum foil or plastics. I had just baking paper and things like that. So there is a lot of things you can do around, in your house and around yourself to help the environment as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow, Anna, that's so amazing. And what's really important as someone's listening and maybe feeling overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I have to change my diet and I have to change my Tupperware and I have to switch to glass instead of plastic and I have to change all my pots and pans and things. But I love the way that you explained it, and it's a journey, right? It's not something
Yeah,
that we need to do overnight. And that's the thing too, is when we're looking at the type of quote unquote diet that we should be on to maybe reverse some of these symptoms that we have, the big thing that comes up is still sustainability. I can switch to the walls protocol, but can I live like that for the rest of my life? Is this something that is
mhm,
manageable? So it's always remembering that as you're hearing this and you're
yeah,
listening to somebody on this podcast, you're listening to the end experience. This is many, many years of slowly creating transformations and becoming 1% better every single day. And it might start just with changing your food, and then slowly switching to organic, and then slowly starting to remove plastics. And then, and it's a journey, and it's okay to do it one step at a time, because ultimately you want to make changes that you can keep up long term, right?
yeah. So exactly. So yeah, maybe I should have been clearer, but I haven't done it overnight. No way. It took me. So I started my nutrition journey in 2014. So essentially, gradually from that will be 8 years almost. I've been more aware, because every year, every week, every day, and you learn something different, and you decide, okay, I want to do it. But I have my life, I have my husband, I have my family, and sometimes it is overwhelming, all of these things. And but you give yourself goals. So I give myself goals, and gradually, okay, I've changed the water filter, saved up, did my research, because of course you need to do a lot of research which one. The same with, which bottle, which stainless, which cookware, and you kind of give yourself these targets and goals, and you do that. The same with cosmetics, you know, gradually, just because first of all it's going to be maybe a little bit more expensive, so you need to save up. And while you're saving up, maybe you do research which one you want to get, and I think you spot on there. You need to, please don't get overwhelmed. Just gradually introduce these changes, and as you said, organic food gradually. If you can afford it, if you can't, you have this dirty dozen clean 15 in North America. We have something similar here, which I'm following as well. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on everything organic, and you just do as much as you can. But there are other things you can do if you cannot. So you can support your liver, saunas, exercise, all of these other things that help clear the toxins as well. So there are ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And, I always share with my athletes that our health and fitness is like another bank account. And every small little change that we do, every little bit, we should never underestimate it. That is going towards the bank account that accumulates over time. And it's really one small thing that we can change that can create a massive impact over time. And, I don't believe that there's anything cheap, right? We can buy cheap food, we can buy cheap products and all that and think that we're saving a few bucks, but we pay the price somewhere. And generally the price that we pay is on our health. And for me, my health is non-negotiable, right? It doesn't matter, how much my wealth is, although I believe our health is our wealth, but it doesn't matter how much money we have or how much access we have to material things. If our health is not there, how can we ever enjoy that, right? So we always have to think about that. Every little thing that we do, that 1 teaspoon of sugar that we remove from our coffee, that one extra serving of vegetables that we have, that 10-minute extra walk that I took, all of that accumulates over time.
I like that metaphor you said about the bank account. I
Yeah.
might adopt that.
Oh, please
Uh,
do. That would please me so much. So Anna, it's been so nice to have you on the show. I appreciate having you here so much value today. I love what you shared. And if somebody wanted to reach out to you to get more information, where could they go for that?
so the best way would be to visit my website, and it's www.annapinnock.co.uk. So I'm based in the UK. However, I see clients online via Zoom, so location is not a problem. So yeah, that's probably the best thing. I'm all over the social media as well, so you can find me there as well.
Amazing. All right. So we'll definitely add that to the show notes. And are there any last final words you want to share with the audience today?
There's quite a few things that are on my mind, but I think essentially, don't get discouraged. Keep digging, keep looking for the right person that can help you. As you mentioned, I think that you know your wealth is your health, and I truly believe in that. And gradual changes. And if you feel something isn't right, you know your body the best,
Mhm.
and you need to trust your instincts and seek help. People like me, I'm sure everyone else, I offer 30 minutes free advice. Other therapists do that as well. Just go and speak to someone, find the right person who can help you. And I think it is possible to turn around. Sherry, one of the examples, because I've listened to your story, and you had back problems and operations, and you're amazing. You look amazing, and I've seen it. And I started my journey with exercise, and I'm thinking, if I ever, am I ever going to be able to do, because my goal is to take part in obstacle race course like Spartan.
Yeah.
But as you imagine, I'm at the beginning of my journey with all my pains, and I'm thinking, will I be able to do it this year? That's the goal. But I'm thinking, well, one step at a time. I will build on it, and just don't think too much about, don't go too much in the future, and just think, okay, take it as one step at a time. And I think it's just possible. You just, as you say, you just have to put your mind to it, your heart, and to keep doing gradual changes, and you'll get there.
Yeah. I love it. And you know what? To get to where I am today, I followed all the advice that you just shared. I listened to my body. I stayed true to myself. I understood what my limitations were. I backed off when I needed to. but I stayed consistent. That 1% better every single day. If I don't have the energy to go for a 1 hour walk, well, 10 minutes is great. And I should honor myself for going for 10 minutes, right? And most of the time we're hard on ourselves. Most of the time it's the opposite. We think it's not enough. We should do more. We have to push harder. We compare ourselves with others. And the truth is, if we focus on all of our wins and we give ourselves credit for all the little bit that we've done every time we showed up and we didn't want to, that's what keeps us going.
That's great. Great advice there.
Well, thank you so much again, Anna, for coming on to the show. And I'm really excited with this conversation, and I'm excited for everyone to listen to it too.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode. Whether you're already on your wellness journey or just getting started, we're in this together. If this has resonated with you today, I want to invite you to subscribe to the show so you never miss a beat. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, then please share this episode with them. Let's work together to help as many people as possible make peace with food and fall in love with fitness. And also, don't forget to visit myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com to join the free Facebook group for more resources. Remember, you are an inspiration. I can't wait to hear your story. See you next time.